After Sunday night's win against the Capitals, the Carolina Hurricanes are on a league best 6-game winning streak, and I think they are one of the teams to beat as of right now in the Eastern Conference.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, covering everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers. I do a column on Chicago Wolves called Wolves Weekly. I am the co-host of the Surgecast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a fun Victory Monday episode for you guys as we get to recap the Hurricanes' 4-2 win over division rivals, the Washington Capitals. Also going to do some takeaways and the guys who stood out to me in the game for the Hurricanes. And then later on in the show, we're going to listen to Dmitry Orlov in his press conference after having a multi-goal night for the Canes. But before we jump into all that, today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Still searching for a great candidate for your company? Don't search, just match with Indeed. Now, as I said at the start of the top of the show, I think with the Carolina Hurricanes, they are on a league best 6-game winning streak. And of course, the Florida Panthers are on a 5-game winning streak of their own. But for me, the Carolina Hurricanes are probably one of the teams to beat as of right now in the Eastern Conference. And if you look at the Metro Division right now, yes, the Rangers are 8-2-1. They are a point up on the Hurricanes, 7-2-1 in their last 10. They're on a 2-game winning streak, and their goal differential is 20. Now, with the Hurricanes, though, they're 8-2-0. They do have a game in hand on the Rangers at 16 points. They have a goal differential of 16, but they're 8-2-0 in their last 10. And like I said, they're on that 6-game winning streak. Florida is on a 5-game winning streak, but their goal differential is only 7, and they're 8-1-1. They are sitting at 19 points, but they've also played 13 games. They're 9-3-1. And it's one of those things for me where it's, there's a couple teams that are right around in their range of, the Capitals are 8-3-0. They're 8-2 in their last 10, but their goal differential is only 13, and they just lost to the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Hurricanes do still have a game in the hand on the Rangers. And for me, it's it's still early in the season. You're talking 10 games in, and like I said, there's still the Rangers. There's still the Panthers, who are on a 5-game winning streak of their own. But if you look at the Eastern Conference as a whole of who's been on a great start to the season right now, especially when a lot of people thought that, the Hurricanes are going to finish, third in the division, maybe hit the wild card. There's been a few people said they might miss the playoffs altogether, but right now they're probably one of the hottest teams with a roster influx for someone who, last year was a odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup, and now they're kind of they're going to be a playoff team, but what are they looking like? And yes, I know it's 10 games into the season, but as of right now, when you're looking at trends, you're looking at just, who's starting out hot in the league. And of course, the big measuring stick is usually American Thanksgiving, which is coming up here in, in a couple of weeks and stuff like that. That's where some people start getting where are they at by that point? Or, how are they looking by the end of December before we flip into the calendar going into the next part of the season? And for me, it's just the way the Canes are playing right now, where overall you're looking at the players who are playing right now for them and how they're doing. And it's one of those things where you're starting to see, who is kind of being, who's stepping up when it's really needed, who's doing their job, what can get done overall for the Canes. And right now, for me, when you look at, the point per game guys, we had going into the game against the Capitals, we had 4 guys at a point per game or more. Now we're down to 2, but I mean, if you look at where, a couple of them are still within, a point per game with, 9 points in 10 games or 8 and 10. But then, of course, you still have two guys that are a point per game or more, and one of them being under Svechnikov at 5 goals, 6 assists for 11 points. He got his 5th goal last year. But then you look at Martin Necas, 6 goals, 12 assists for 18 points, and he's sitting at a +9. And that was after a multi-point night where the Carolina Hurricanes were, up 1-0, 14 minutes into the period, thanks to Dmitry Orlov. And of course, Martin Necas got the assist on there. And then unfortunately, it kind of unraveled late into the period as, getting a 5-on-3, taking way too many penalties late, get down on a 2-man disadvantage. And of course, in his office, Alexander Ovechkin scores a power play goal, at 19:16. And then not long after, Brandon Duhaime makes a 2-1 at 19:49, right around 10 seconds. So it's almost a backbreaker for the Hurricanes. But then after that, it was pretty much all Carolina. When you look at how the second period was, usually Carolina's, how are they in the second period? Well, this one, they came out pretty flying, all things considered. 2:29 in, Martin Necas gets his 6th of the season, with Robinson getting the assist and Jesperi Kotkaniemi getting his 7th assist. So he's keeping his assist streak going as of right now. And Dmitry Orlov gets his 2nd of the game, with Chatfield getting his 1st assist of the season, along with Martin Necas getting his 2nd assist of the night and his 3rd point at 5:26. And then in the third, Andrei Svechnikov gets his 5th of the season, like we said a little bit ago, on an empty net with 9 seconds left. And of course, this was, the Hurricanes getting their first win of the season against Washington 4-2, with 3 more games for the season series. Of course, the next one is in December on the 20th in Washington, and then they have 2 games in April on the 2nd and the 10th to close out the season. So, one in Carolina on the 2nd, and then they're back in Washington on the 10th. So they got one more game in 2024, and then you're looking at towards the last couple weeks of the season to wrap up before we go into the playoffs. Of course, the Hurricanes, they absolutely, outside of the very terrible end of the first period where they gave up those 2 goals, they pretty much dominated the Capitals right from the rip, 45-21 in shots. Carolina outshot them 13-10 in the first, then those 18-5 in the second, and 14-6 in the third. Of course, unfortunately, the power play went 0 for 3, while the penalty killers went 3 for 5. I mean, heck, you take 75%, it is what it is. But if you look at how just overall the entire period went, or just how that game went, it was one of those things where outside of the last minute, 2 minutes of the game where they kind of just got away from themselves, it was pretty much all Carolina in the first period. It was Carolina for pretty much the rest of the game, too. Of course, Pierre Kachekov making a lot of great saves in the third period. So it's just, when you look at how the game went, it's a 4-2 win. Of course, with it being the empty netters, it was 3-2 essentially, but they didn't, beat themselves up. They didn't get, they didn't let the 2 goals at the end of the first kind of like slow them down. It shows the perseverance of this team, and we've seen it so far in 10 games into the season, of how they, no matter how the scores or what happens, they always find a way to claw themselves back into it and find ways to either tie it up or win it. And that's why you see them staying at, 8-2-0 after 10 games. And of course, you got a very heavy November where you're playing so many games in so many days. So of course, you look at the last month, you're looking at a very, very tough end to November, where it's one of those things that it's a gauntlet going through this month, to where you got 3 more games just this week alone in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. Then you're on the road in Colorado to finish the week out. Then you're on the then you're kind of in the Mountain Time Zone. Then you come back home for a back-to-back. Then on the 16th and 17th, and they have another back-to-back on the 20th and 21st. And then your last 4 games of the month, which includes a back-to-back home and home set. You got Dallas on the 25th, the Rangers on the 27th, and then you got Florida on a back-to-back. And it's a home and home set on the 29th at home at 3 p.m. on a Friday, which is crazy to think about. And then just a little 24 hours later, you're playing Florida at 4 o'clock on a Saturday. So this is going to be one of those months where you're going to kind of see who you are as the Carolina Hurricanes. And, but overall, you'll take this 4-2 win, shows that there's no quit in this team, and they're finding ways to getting the job done. So speaking of which, we're going to start doing the takeaways and who I think pretty much really stood out for the Carolina Hurricanes in their win against the Washington Capitals, and continuing why I think that the Hurricanes are one of the teams to beat in these. So stick around as we'll do that here in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars on more winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long with PrizePicks. And PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Sign up today and get $50 instantly. Play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and earn your sports opinions. Turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. Now, for me, it's do I think that Patrick Mahomes might pass for less than 267.5 yards, or do I think Saquon Barkley is going to run for more than 68.5? Well, you could do that with PrizePicks. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, that is LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. And that's when you download the app today. Then, of course, when it comes to PrizePicks, you can run your game. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't a search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. The one thing I like about Indeed is the fact that you can upload your resume, add your certificates, add your, if you have a CDL and stuff like that, you can do all of that. And if you're, someone who's looking to hire as well, they are finding ways to help you find your preferred candidates. And when doing so, by leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners, this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Once again, that is Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? Well, you need Indeed. Welcome back to the segment 2 for Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. And like I said at the end of segment 1, we're going to do more like a takeaways, like who stood out for the Carolina Hurricanes. And I keep explaining the main point of why I think the Hurricanes are one of the teams to beat in the East right now, despite, yes, they're a point behind the Rangers, but they have a game in hand. Of course, the Florida Panthers are on a winning streak themselves and stuff like that. But you look at how it was basically a Dmitry Orlov and Martin Nietzsche show, all things considered, in terms of, the goal scorers. Of course, Pyotr Kochetkov playing really well, for Carolina, doing what he needed to do and, getting a third star of his own. When you look at that, he stopped 19 of 21 shots and was able to give himself a good showing, first game in with, Frederick Anderson being out. So it's another great game for him. And you look at how, Kochetkov played. It's good to see that he's finding a way to do what he needs to do. Like I said, stopping 19-21, had a .905 save percentage. And you look at the guys that are multi-point. I mean, Dmitry Orlov, 2 goals. You love to see that. And then you look at in terms of, the forward core, the only guy to have a multi-point night was Martin Nietzsche with a goal, 2 assists for 3 points. And he was a +3 on 3 shots. And for me, those were the 3 guys that really stood out overall for the Canes. And I think it goes to show why, Kochetkov was the third star, why why Nietzsche's was the second star, and why Dmitry Orlov was the first star. Of course, Dmitry Orlov scored 2 goals. Yeah, and that's something you really want to see out of Dmitry Orlov is the fact that, he's, in the last year of his contract, you want him to play really well. So right now he is considered, eighth on the team in points with 3 goals, 3 assists for 6 points. And he does sit at a +8, which is only behind Martin Necas and Eric Robinson are both +9s, and then with just Barry Kotkaniemi at a +7, and then Chatfield at 6, and Walker at 5, with Drury and Gosper running up the pack at +4. But it's a great game you want to see from Orlov, finding a way to get getting multiple goals in that game, and doing against a former team in the Washington Capitals, who he was with first when he started his career. But then you see how Pierre Kachekov played, where it's a 19 save performance out of 21, a 905 save percentage gets another win for him, and you'll take that. Now he's 4-1 on the season, and I think the biggest takeaway is Martin Necas, how you have a 3-point night once again from him. And now he's on a 6-game point streak, and I think that's something that hasn't really been mentioned yet, is the fact of how consistent Martin Necas has been, and the fact that he's finding a way to, not have 1 point here, 1 point here, and maybe another point there. He's having multi-point nights, and the fact that he is already up to 18 points in 10 games. He's well over a point per game right now. And, 18 of those points are in the last 9 games because, how the home opener went, where it was just, Jordan Stahl with the only goal. But for me, Necas is finding a way to make himself feel known, and why he is more than deserving the $6.5 million that he got from the Hurricanes. I did mention on social media, like, if you're the Hurricanes, when do you start thinking about, extensions? And for everyone who kept telling me it's July 1st, it has to be July 1st, it's too early. I'm like, I know it's July 1st. I know that's when the extensions are allowed to be done, but there's never a bad time to start, maybe start thinking about it, in the back of your head. Okay, he's playing really well. Maybe we need to start, thinking about, what we're going to be doing July 1st. Of course, like, that's so far away. And, there's been points of like, yeah, well, he's had some starts of the season where he plays really well, then kind of fades off for a couple months. And yes, Martin Necas in the past has been known to be streaky. So, yeah, it's still really early on. So we got 72 games left in the regular season. That's so many games for those who know, but it's one of those things where it's it's 10 games, but I don't know any Carolina Hurricane right now that has a really hot start like that. I mean, we know some guys who've played really well to start the first 10 games of the season, but I don't, in recent memory, even in the Rod Brind'Amour era, I don't know many guys who would be on a six game point streak heater and being on a one where it's 18 points. Like, he's almost putting himself into a 2 points per game category. And I think this kind of, for me, is the big takeaway. Is like, yes, Pierre Kachekov had a great game. You'll take a 19 out of 21 save performance with a 905. Dmitry Orlov gets a multi-goal night. You'll love to see it from him, getting two in the game. Andrei Svechnikov gets his 5th of the season as well. But for me, it's Martin Necas, of where he is finding himself in a good spot to where somehow he is making that 6.5 really worth it. And now it's, it makes you start to think, okay, do we see we know his price is going to go up in terms of, contract and stuff like that. And, where are we looking at, coming extension time if there's, if the Hurricanes do one? Because right now, in just averaging his even strength time on ice, he's almost averaging 13 minutes on even strength. His goals for percentage is at 60%, and his Corsi for percentage, which usually talks about like possession, of like how much your team has possession of the puck on the ice. Usually you want to be over 50%, which is really good. There, he's at 55.7, but his goals for is at 60% right now. Yeah, he's feeling pretty good about himself. And like I said, where he's at 18 points in 10 games with his 6 goals, 12 assists. He is right now, with 1 penalty on the season, he is averaging 1.8 points per game. He is so close to being a 2-point guy already. Like, if he has another multi-point game where he puts himself, let's say if he gets 4 points and he's at 22 after Tuesday's game, I mean, name another Hurricane that's had a 2-point per game start ever in their career, let alone being over 1 or 1.5 at this point and playing just playing really good hockey. I don't know any other guys that are doing it right now, and for me, that's why I think one of the biggest takeaways from this game and why I think the Carolina Hurricanes are playing phenomenal hockey and one of the teams to beat is the fact that you do have Sebastian Aho scoring. You do have Seth Jarvis, Andrei Svechnikov. You got Jack Roslovic doing his thing with his 6 goals. Shane Gostisbehere playing great two-way hockey for him being mainly a offensive defenseman. You're getting great goaltending in Pyotr Kochetkov. Of course, we got hopefully Frederick Anderson isn't out too long. But you know how good Spencer Martin is when he needs to step up. But for me, it's the ability to see Martin Necas take the pressure of going from a $3 million player to 6.5 and be like, okay, show us why you're that guy. And right now, he has shown why he is that guy, leading the team by a good margin in the points. And he's almost averaging 2 points per game. You're at 1.8 after 10 games. I don't think any team's going to scoff at that. And for the fact that your goals for percentage is 60%, that's really, really good for a second-line right winger who's into a first year of a 2-year contract. With hopefully maybe there's some extension talks coming later this summer. Of course, we'll get more into that as we get closer to July 1st of 25. But right now, a very good start for Martin Necas in the Carolina Hurricanes. So that being said, we are going to move on to the section 3 of the podcast where we're going to listen to Dmitry Orlov's presser and I get my thoughts on that. So stick around as we'll do that here in a second on a Victory Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Listen up, renters. Ever feel like you're stuck in this loop of rent payments, just watching money vanish into thin air? It's time to turn that rent game around and start earning some serious rewards. That's where Built Rewards comes in. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent every month. Pay your rent and watch Built points roll in. Use points to draft to a dream vacation. Put your points towards a flight or a hotel stay with 500 plus airline miles and 700,000 plus hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them toward a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Built points have been consistently ranked the highest value point currency by the Point Guy in Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbuilt.com/lockedonNHL. That's joinbuilt.com/lockedonNHL. Make sure to use our URL so they know where we sent you. Join built.com/lockedonNHL to start earning points when your rate payments today. Carry the tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check the latest stats, view play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Like I said, the end of segment 2, we're going to jump into the Dmitry Orlov press conference, get his thoughts on a couple things from the game after their 4-2 win over the Washington Capitals, get my thoughts after that. So without further ado, let's jump into the press conference with Dmitry Orlov.
Yeah, still a little more special against your old team.
Yeah, I mean it's not easy mentally, and emotional. 12 years, you're not just put in the garbage. And I play with some guys, and I know, and I respect them a lot as a human being and as a player. So yeah, it's special, and it's important win for us. I think we have a good stretch, like 6 wins in a row, I think, or something like that. And we always have a good start, so we just keep doing that and build from that.
What's the secret for Nitrous right now? It seems like everything he touches kind of turns to gold right now.
I mean, he's got a lot of talent and he's finding his confidence and he playing great, so it's good for us, in all lines, played well today, and it's not easy league to win 6 in a row, and we did a good job. So we got 2 more home games, so we need especially division games. It's rivals all the time, and we need this, keep focused, not be too happy, just move on, forget, and try to have fun and play for each other.
Big thank you to Dmitry Orlov and the Carolina Hurricanes, and a couple of things to take away from what he says: the fact that it's always, an emotional game for him when you're playing the Washington Capitals, especially when, got good friends in Alexander Ovechkin on that side. And he's been there, he was there for a while. And, Ovechkin does score a goal, but, Dmitry Orlov does enter his, I guess, as the reporters put it, his own little side of being Alexander Ovechkin scoring a goal the way he did as well. But then also later on talked about how, while the individual accolades, the start of the season are really good for them, specifically talking about Martin Necas, it's also where you have to, you want to be happy, but you've got another game on Tuesday, then another one against Pittsburgh on Thursday, and then you got another one, going out to the Mountain Time Zone against the Colorado Avalanche on Saturday. So it's one of those things where, you want to feel happy of where you're at, but you also got to remember too that the job's not done. You're still talking another 72 games into the regular season before you get to the playoffs, and you got another game, not that far away. So you got 4 games this week and stuff like that. You just got you got one taken care of, and you get 2 more road games before you leave for a 3-game road trip. But it's one of those things where it's, you want to be happy about it, but it's also you got to stay focused and keep the task at hand, because it's not easy to win 6 games. And right now the Hurricanes do have the league leading, 6 wins in a row, with Florida, winning 5 straight of their own. And right now, if you're the Hurricanes, you're 1 point back of the Rangers of the Metro Division lead. You got a game in hand. Now you just got to capitalize on beating, teams in your division coming up with the Flyers and the Penguins. So you really don't want to take your eye off the prize when it comes to getting points from your division as well, especially for the 2 Pennsylvania teams who are really struggling right now in the Metro at the bottom part of the division. So you kind of want to take advantage of that. So it's great to be winning right now, or, it's good to have the individual stats, like especially the way Martin Necas is playing, but you also can't, rest on your laurels and, be like, okay, the next thing is coming up, but, we're playing really well, whatever. So it's just staying focused and keep doing the job. But always good to hear from the guys, get their perspectives, like, how things are going right now, but they also wanted to, keep things in perspective of, just how the season's going overall. But that will finish up this episode of Locked on Hurricanes. Thank you for everyone for listening. If you want to check out whatever I'm doing for covering the Carolina Hurricanes, you can find me at OneTrueZach on X. The podcast is _Hurricanes. I do have a link to my bio where you can check out all my articles and links to the podcast. If you want to find my articles on the Carolina Hurricanes, just go to thehockeywriters.com and just go to the Hurricane section and you'll find me there. Of course, you can click the link to in my bio, and there's a link to my author page where you can find all of my articles that I've done for the Carolina Hurricanes over there as well. There's a link to my other podcast, The Searchcast, or you can just go look up The Searchcast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For this podcast, same thing. Go to it, whatever audio platform you use. Leave a 5-star rating after looking up Locked on Hurricanes. If you do, I'll make sure to rate it on the show. On YouTube, make sure to hit subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you don't miss the show. Hit the like button. Let me know you like the episode as well. Make sure to share this podcast with other Caniacs to become everydayers just like you, because we are over 1,020 subscribers. So let's keep the ball rolling. Let's get to 2, 5, 10,000 down, 10,000 subscribers. Let's just keep this rolling as the season goes along. But I hope everyone enjoyed this Victory Monday edition of Locked on Hurricanes. Hope everyone enjoys their Monday. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.